is night, and there are only the sounds of the city to keep us company. What is out there in the vast blackness of night? As this little boy walks along, he is aware that something is watching him, something which is not of this earth. There is something watching this boy, and he wonders what that thing is. Does it wish him well, or is it a force of evil, a force of the Prince of Darkness? What is out there in the night waiting for all of us, waiting to be discovered? Is there something which lurks in the shadows, waiting for us, waiting and hoping that we will make the fatal mistake of not believing in it? Do you believe in ghosts? Do you think there are such things as ghosts? Things that go bump in the night, things which haunt our nightmares with dreams of death and blood, dreams which stagger our imagination as we fearfully contemplate the amazing world of ghosts. What does this young boy see as he walks all alone in the city at night? What does he see as he looks out over the night into the city? What does this young boy think of as he walks through the streets, searching for what? The lights of the city seem friendly, comforting, but they cannot dispel the aura of gloom which hangs over the night. Suddenly he hears a sound. What is it? Is it a ghost? Is it a creature from the realms of nightmares? A walking horror which will bring to him the endless embrace of death? Is the boy about to become one of the undead? One of the unholy ones? What will protect him? Ancient man looked to the stars to guide him through the amazing world of ghosts. As we search through the caves of antiquity, we wonder about ourselves, about our lives, and about the possibility of life after death. A realm in which the dead may live again, in which the living will be truly the living dead. All throughout recorded history, man has wondered about the mysteries of the grave and about the possibility of life after death. Is there life after death? Do we coexist with ghosts in our everyday lives? Do ghosts watch us constantly, silently influencing the affairs of men, arranging the destinies of those around them, without attracting any notice at all? Some ghosts make a lot of noise. Poltergeists, for example, who throw things around the houses they haunt and make life miserable for unfortunate human beings. These poltergeists can sometimes become very menacing, as some occurrences reported include blood dripping from a ceiling of a house in Pennsylvania, followed by a hail of smashing china and crockery, and a car which inexplicably started up in a driveway outside a house in California and plowed through the front of the hapless victim's house. These are some of the more violent occurrences in the amazing world of ghosts. But other, quieter occurrences happen every day, and not all ghosts are evil. Throughout man's history, his literature has told us tales of ghosts of departed ancestors returning to help the living, of ghosts who interceded on behalf of kings to help them regain their kingdoms. And of course, Banquo's ghost in Shakespeare's immortal Macbeth, who foretells the doom of Macbeth. Surrounded by reminders of our past, examples of lost cultures which we know very little about, we realize how far we have come in our understanding of the universe. But at the same time, we also realize that we still have a great deal to learn. Museums can show us the works of the past, but how many of their secrets will our artifacts never reveal? When will an ancient sarcophagus which bore a heretical Egyptian priest to his doom ever tell us the horror and pain of being buried alive? When will the knives and spears of lost civilizations ever give up their past to us, their history of blood and terror? Though he did not really understand the workings of the universe, early man liked to pretend that he knew all the secrets of the heavens and invented involved mythological systems, demons and gods who rule the universe and control the movements of the planets. Today we know that such speculation is ridiculous, but the solar system as we know it today was considered a preposterous theoretical impossibility until only a few hundred years ago. For a long time, man thought that the Earth was the center of the solar system, rather than the sun. The planets were supposed to revolve around the Earth, exactly as the planets really revolve around the sun. Again, today, we know better. But dedicated men of science were persecuted and sometimes forfeited their lives as they stood up for what they believed and persisted in their beliefs on the true order of the solar system. Perhaps one day scientists who now believe in paranormal phenomena ghosts and ESP will no longer be scoffed at, and the study of ghostly phenomena will be a legitimate study of the scientific community. However, it will probably be a long time before the study of ghosts is accepted. For too long, the entire subject of the supernatural has been cloaked in a cloud of deception and controversy. And often, unscrupulous mediums and fakers have presented cleverly staged displays as truly ghostly visitations. Real ghosts are very hard to find. People have spent their whole lives searching for ghosts in houses and castles throughout America and Europe and never found one. And then, a typical American family will move into a small house in a quiet suburban community and find to their shock and horror that the house is haunted. Haunted by creatures of the night, haunted by monsters from beyond the grave, who return from the realm of the dead to haunt the living and exact their terrible revenge upon those who would disturb their rest. And why did they choose to haunt this typical American family? A family which had never before taken seriously the existence of creatures from the netherworld, of things that go bump in the night. Who can say? There is no way of predicting when a ghostly visitation will occur. But one day, perhaps, your number will be chosen, and you will come face to face with a dream of living horror so incredible that it will surpass your wildest fantasies. Yes, there's death in your dreams, too. Death and blood, and the realm beyond death, the realm of eternity. As man gazes out across the vast ocean of knowledge which stretches out in front of him, he wonders what he will one day know about the realm of the undead, about vampires, werewolves, witches, ghouls, goblins, monsters, and creatures which walk the earth, although they belong to the dead. There is no way of telling what astonishing discoveries may be unearthed tomorrow, and what incredible facts will be uncovered. The sea, for example, has seen many things. The sea could tell of shipwrecks, of pirates making slaves and captives walk the plank, and of sunken treasure buried deep beneath the muck and mire of the ocean, buried treasure waiting to be discovered in a ghostly galleon. But what is the price for discovering such a treasure? What will the lucky person who finds the treasure have to pay to reclaim this ghostly gold from the briny deep? The sun beats down now on the sea, calm and peaceful, where once the ocean ran red with the blood of innocent victims, victims who paid with their lives for the gold now buried deep in the sea. The sands of the sea are like the sands of time, ever-changing yet ever the same. History is made and history is erased. Someday there may be no record left that we ever lived on this planet, and there will be nothing left to show that mankind once existed on Earth. As the sun beats down on the calm sea, we realize that these things do not matter in the vast scope and sweep of time. The events continue to happen every day, which are more incredible than anything that has ever happened before. The world of science has given us listening tools, which enable us to monitor wavelengths we could never listen to before. Now, we have infrared cameras which can perhaps take actual pictures of ghosts and enable us to see more clearly what sort of creatures haunt our dreams, sharing our waking world. With these scientific tools, we can take a look at the world of paranormal phenomena and perhaps arrive at a few conclusions. Here are a series of astounding photographs which show a few incredible aspects of the world of the undead, as well as actual pictures of ghosts photographed by spirit mediums and other noted psychic authorities. Here is a picture of the infamous monk Rasputin, who used hypnosis and terrorism to hold the Tsar of Russia and his beautiful wife in his power. Eventually, Rasputin was poisoned by some of the palace guards. Rasputin was a noted mystic and believer in ghosts. This second still shows Rasputin in the company of some of the very men who later murdered him in a wing of the Tsar's palace. This famous photograph was taken by an English spirit photographer near the turn of the century in London. It includes the famed medium Mrs. Guppy on the right with some friends. The ghost is clearly visible in this astonishing photograph. This shows a medium going into a trance, possessed by the spirit of one of her dead ancestors. She is about to materialize a ghost in these sensational pictures taken in July 1974 near Rome. In this next shot, the ghost is becoming clearly visible and hovers over the medium in an eerie fashion. This seance was attended by many noted authorities who could detect no trickery of any kind. Here is a famous photo of the medium Eusapia Palladino levitating a table in one of her seances. Even after the room has been thoroughly searched by police and her hands tied, Miss Palladino is still able to levitate the table with no difficulty. Here is a medium producing an ectoplasm which comes directly out of her mouth. This is a very dangerous procedure. It is accomplished only under conditions of the highest security. One false move could mean the life of the medium would be at stake. Two incredible photographs showing a picture of a dead woman and then her ghost icon, which was materialized during a sensational seance in 1973 near London. The ghost spoke to several people at the seance, and all agreed it was the spirit of the dead woman. These photos taken in London in the early 20s show a medium who later turned out to be a fake, demonstrating the method by which he fooled his gullible customers. The man and a confederate would hide themselves in the room, and then they would produce a variety of effects through trickery, amplification, and electronic devices. Here are an incredible series of photographs showing the materialization of a spirit photographed at 50-second intervals with infrared lights. This woman is a successful practitioner of automatic writing. She simply lets the pen rest against her fingers, and it moves by itself, writing in a variety of handwritings the woman does not know. And where do such powers come from? Where does the mysterious power which enables a ghost to materialize come from? Are we being visited even now by creatures from beyond space? Sit back and relax and come with us now on an amazing tour through space as we journey through the solar system. Our first stop is Jupiter, planet of mystery. Here we see a series of computer graphs which chart the stages of a typical encounter with this enormous giant planet. As we move away from Jupiter, we wonder what strange forces are at work on the planet. Are ghosts really the living dead from outer space? Do the planets follow the laws of the mystic spirits? And are the heavens and the world of deep space really a part of the incredible realm of the undead? Traveling through space, we come upon one of our silent watchdog sentinels of the skies. These silent drone picture-taking ships tell us more about the world of deep space, and they also tell us many other things about the world beyond our atmosphere. What is it really like out there in deep space? What are those strange noises, mysterious rays, those bizarre communications and flashes which have been noticed as one planet sends a signal to another? A signal, perhaps, to attack the Earth? Our Sentinel satellites keep us aware of changes in the heavens. Thanks to sophisticated electronic technology, we can explore the world of outer space without ever leaving our base at Mission Control. As we explore the world of outer space, we remember the biblical prophecies which foretold the coming of spirits from the heavens. These scenes from an ancient tapestry interpret the story of St. John the Divine in the book of Revelations. The many-headed dragon of mythology makes a formidable opponent in this ancient masterpiece. Here, in a nightmarish vision, the ghosts of an ancient city rise up from the grave to wreak terrible vengeance upon a sleeping population. This painting, done in the late 19th century, shows a typical Victorian preoccupation with ghosts. Here, in a staged picture made during the mid-19th century, the ghost of his departed wife returns to comfort a widower. Before the age of infrared photography, ingenious fakes such as this were numerous. This is a gargoyle on the Cathedral of Notre Dame, Paris. Gargoyles were thought to ward off evil spirits and to guard the precious religious icons inside the church. Here is a more modern evocation of the ghostly influence on us all. The exterior of a typical spook house at an amusement park. Although these ghosts are merely fabrications, there are other things about which we cannot be so certain. In this incredible photograph taken in Germany in the 1880s, a skull and a disembodied hand return from the grave to haunt a young German philosophy student. This photo was widely thought to be genuine. Here is Saul and the Witch of Endor, a scene in 1 Samuel of the Bible, in which King Saul asks a witch to conjure up the spirit of his father to advise him. There are many tales of ghostly visitation in the Bible, and many tales of strange influences from beyond the grave. Here is a lecherous English lord, Lord Lyttelton, visited by the ghost of a Mrs. Amplet, whose 2 daughters Lyttelton had seduced. Mrs. Amplet predicted that the lord would be dead in 3 days, and he was. Littlecote, a manor house in Wiltshire, is reputed widely to be haunted by several ghosts. Here is the exterior of old Scotney Castle in Kent, where many ghosts have been seen in the halls late at night. This is the famed Drury Lane Theatre in London, which is reputedly haunted by the mysterious man in gray, who emerges from a spot on the rear wall. This is the tomb of an Englishman named Robert Cook, located in Digby, England, and the churchyard is haunted by the ghost of a gray pony who runs through the graveyards on nights when the moon is full. In our present day, scarecrows and magicians continue to ply their trades wherever there is a crowd, mixing religious ceremonial rites with ghostly incantations. Sometimes, the intoxicating beat of a drum is mixed with the mysterious hypnotic power of a coin. This man is trying to hypnotize a young passerby. Although hypnosis is thousands of years old and has many gifted practitioners, no one still knows precisely how it works. Here in New York City today, we still do not know why the young man is so fascinated by the coin, nor why he will soon slip into a deep trance, from which he will awaken only when commanded to do so by his hypnotizer. In a trance, many people have seen ghosts and reported incredible experiences from the realm of the spirit world. Who can tell what this young man will see as he falls deep into a trance from which there is no awakening? The man does not hear the people near him dancing. He does not join in the gay celebration all around him. Others may dance in rhythms reminiscent of the voodoo ceremonies of Haiti, but this man is in a trance which is growing deeper all the time. The music becomes more frenzied. The dancing becomes wilder, full of sensual abandon. The drums beat louder and louder as the dancing becomes more and more charged with a wild, incredible energy. The man in the trance is not aware of the pounding, insistent rhythm of the drums which beat out a tempo which is both old and modern. The drums hearken back to mysterious rites, to incredible ceremonies performed in the mists of time, of sacrifices, of satanic ceremonies and witchcraft, and unholy invocations. Bystanders are caught up in the beat. They are gripped by the insistent rhythm. The man in the trance is lost in a world beyond time and space. Hopefully, though, he will return, but perhaps he will not. Church in Eastern Europe, which is widely regarded as a haunted church. There have been many strange and inexplicable occurrences in the church, and now many worshippers will not use the church because they fear it is connected with the world of ghosts. In the world, one of the most heartbreaking scenes is the scene of an incredible disaster like an earthquake. Here, in the aftermath of a Chilean earthquake, there were many rumors of an additional threat beyond the loss of property and life due to the fury of the trembling earth. Among the people who crowded into makeshift tents about the ruins, desperately searching for food and drink, there were rumors, just rumors at first, that people were seeing ghosts in the night among the ruins. Ghosts of those who had died in the disaster, of those whose lives had been snuffed out by the tragic natural cataclysm. Survived managed to get by on a few meager crumbs. They eat their food hurriedly and wonder, what will happen when the darkness falls tonight? Will there be more tales of ghostly visitation? Will there be more astounding occurrences that will shake those who have survived the terror of the earthquake? Even more? What will protect these survivors when in the night, the ghosts of those who were alive only a few days before come to haunt them, to confront them with their deaths? The men in the village go about their tasks routinely. Their minds are on other things. As the bulldozers sweep away the wreckage left in the wake of the quake, the people who survived hope that with the buildings demolished, the ghosts will be gone forever. Perhaps they are right. Perhaps with the last ruined shell of a building gone, the ghosts which haunt these ruins will be no more. But perhaps not. These peasants attend a ceremonial funeral, well knowing how lucky they are that it is not their funeral, that only by the hand of a merciful fate have they been spared a crushing, agonizing death. Is it any wonder that the spirits of those so horribly killed should want to return, to exact a toll of suffering equal to the suffering which they endured, as they were mercilessly killed by indifferent rock and stone? This man walks through the ruins of the quiet, deserted city. He sees nothing. All around him it is quiet. Quiet now in the aftermath of the quake. The There are children, mothers, and families sleeping peacefully. There is a sense of calm now, even a sense of relaxation. One man sprawls in the sun, and a nearby family tent house offers shelter to other members of his family. This man wears a gruesome reminder of how close he came to death, a cast on his leg, as his leg was crushed by falling rock. At the local hospital facility, set up in cooperation with the American Red Cross, scientists keep tabs on the health conditions in the tent city to prevent any outbreak of disease. This would lead to more death and perhaps more spirit visitations. In laboratories around the world, the specialists of NASA and other governmental agencies are constantly compiling a running list of all the data which pours into their computers daily as they strive to predict earthquakes before they happen and thus prevent the loss of many millions of lives. These lines demonstrate where there are fault lines in the earth, areas of great stress which will collapse in the event of an earthquake. When an earthquake does occur, damage is in the millions. In another Chilean quake, 143 men, women, and children perished horribly in a single night. In this case, too, there were the stories of ghostly visitation. Here is the horror of an earthquake. Buildings collapse, walls give out. There is not anywhere to escape to, nowhere to run. As the buildings crumble into the dust, there is nowhere to seek shelter. The carnage and destruction is terrifying. Fires and looting break out in the aftermath. Firefighters struggle against the fire and wind conditions to put out the fire. Later, after the quake's aftermath, a lone ghost researcher walks out among the ruins, searching for signs of ghostly visitation. Did ghosts visit this quake site? Can we be sure? In California, our own San Andreas Fault puts a great deal of the entire California coastline in constant jeopardy. Just think what would happen if the California coastline crumbled. Just think of the damage and destruction. It would be the most horrendous catastrophe to ever befall this country, and it could happen in the very near future. Scientists predict that the fault lines around the entire world, in fact, are all at the stress point, and it is very likely that there will have to be a major earthquake soon. From far out in space, we contemplate our Earth, a spinning ball in the vast blackness of space. From out here, it seems as if all our troubles are nothing. But as we look closer, we bring you in once again for a close-up look at some more amazing evidence from the files on the amazing world of ghosts. This is the tomb of Lord Byron's dog, Boatswain, at Newstead Abbey, Byron's ancestral home. A spectral hound is said to haunt the ground of the estate during the winter nights. This is one of the more sinister haunted houses in the world. It is Oakhampton Castle in Devonshire. There have been reports of a coach made entirely out of human bones and flesh on the road nearby, and screaming ghosts travel the hallways at night. Here is a skull with an even more incredible story. This is the screaming skull of Bettiscombe Manor and belongs to an 18th century slave who was killed at the manor. The skull floats along the corridors at night, screaming horribly, according to local legend. This is the Tapestry Room at Swaston, Cambridgeshire, the ancestral home of Mary, Queen of Scots, nicknamed Bloody Mary for her habit of beheading her opponents. Mary's ghost is said to still haunt the castle. This is an Australian Aborigine standing by a burial post painted with a hand and a crocodile to ward away evil spirits which may harm his beloved wife who has recently died. The Aborigines feel that a dead man's spirit will return to haunt the living and cause harm to those of this world unless certain conditions and burial customs are observed. The logs they carry in this picture represent the spirits of dead relatives. Common offerings by the Aborigine tribes to the evil spirits and to their dead ancestors include food to make them feel at home, so they will not harm those of the living. Who knows? Maybe the Aborigines are right. For as this terrified, shattered woman's face suggests, the world of the supernatural is an amazing place, a world of pandemonium and mystery. One cannot be too careful to not offend the spirits which walk these misty corridors of time. Here is a drawing by an Indian tribe that will help to keep the living safe from the dead. This is a Scarab Amulet from an Egyptian cult circa 30 BC, inscribed with a prayer to the gods for safe conduct through the world of the dead. Here is another ancient amulet to spare the living the terrors of domination by forces from beyond the grave. This was hewn out of crystal and is valued today at more than $50,000. This ancient Mesopotamian demon is the god Pazuzu, who brings desert winds and scorching heat to the country when the growing season is on, thereby destroying the crops on which the Mesopotamians depended to survive. Yes, throughout mankind's history, he has sought to make peace with the gods that ruled his destinies. In the 14th century, the Christian church rapidly gained prominence, and the Christian faith became one of the world's great religions of faith and hope. This image of Mary from an old stone altar shows all the compassion one associates with the Madonna.
Ac de Filio tuo, ac de Spiritu Santo, sine differentia discretionis sentimus.
Here are stained glass windows also from the 14th century. They depict many miracle scenes from the Bible. The Bible is full of many strange and inexplicable incidents, and these mysteries, such as the burning bush and the parting of the Red Sea, continue to astonish mankind down through the centuries. They defy any local explanation. Over the sea and see the sun reflected in the waters which swirl about us like the sands of eternal change, we must wonder about what awaits us beyond the horizon, beyond the sunset, in the netherworld of night, where creatures from beyond the grave haunt our wildest dreams. Japan, Buddhism is one of the major religions, and statues of Buddha are everywhere. Here we see a group of Japanese school children worshiping the Buddha. The Japanese have many legends of family ghosts returning to haunt the living and of ancestral ghostly curses. Here the children are looking at the statue of Buddha at the center of a large complex of religious temples. Religion and ghostly superstition are still interwoven inextricably in the fabric of Japanese life. And as we see these peaceful Japanese citizens walking around these gardens, we wonder, how can they be so tranquil? Perhaps it is because they have accepted the way of compassion, and they know that whatever happens, they are protected by the ghosts of their ancestors and the spirit and guiding influence of the Buddha. From Japan, we go high to the mountains of Nepal. Here, a native shepherd leads his donkey along a mountain path outside the walls of a city. A young mother and her child watch us in wonder. Goats frolic around in the street, and the townspeople are amazed by our visit. They have never seen a camera before. They have no idea why we have come here. But we have come to this small mountain village nestled high in the Nepalese mountains because certain persistent rumors of ghostly visitations have reached our ears. Tales of ghostly creatures who have risen from their graves at night to drink the blood of the living. The village wise man in his white cap knows that such things exist, but he is saying nothing to the outsiders. He knows they will just laugh at him, but he makes sure that the villagers will observe all the necessary rituals to prevent the ghosts from running rampant in the town. The children at play scatter the flocks to different areas to keep the ghosts off their track. These villagers live with ghosts every day, and their nights are living nightmares. Here we see Loch Ness, the famous lake in Scotland so often associated with the famed Loch Ness monster, or Nessie as the inhabitants affectionately call her. Here we see a close-up of a playful Nessie frolicking in the waves, as photographed in the mid-1940s by a passerby with a camera. This incredible photo shows off Nessie to her best. This cage was actually constructed to keep the Loch Ness monster on public exhibition, should the monster ever be caught. Of course, the cage built in 1921 was never used, but perhaps someday it will be, and the legends of the Loch Ness monster will become fact. This is another close-up of the monster's head rising out of the water. The monster is clearly visible in this astonishing photograph, which has been examined by many authorities and found to be genuine. Here is a longer shot of the famed Loch Ness monster as it swims placidly across the lake. Perhaps the monster wonders what all the fuss is about. All he wants to do is go for a swim. Here we have a very wide shot of Loch Ness with the monster in the foreground. This picture shows one part of the monster's enormous trunk-like body disappearing beneath the surface of the loch. Here is another incredible view of the monster, clearly showing all three of her humps as she slithers through the water like a gigantic snake. More and more reports of the Loch Ness monster are coming in, confusing and confounding the authorities. Here we have a wide view of the lake with the monster in the center of the lake. Despite the great number of stills of Nessie, there has never been any good movie footage taken of the creature. This is a great loss to science. These two divers are searching the loch for evidence of the creature, but it seems as if they haven't had any luck. Perhaps next time. And perhaps they will be sorry when it happens. Here is an astonishing photo which shows a creature pulled out of a lake near the famed Loch Ness. Who knows what it is? Scientists were baffled by the creature, which did not resemble anything that had previously been known to science. Here is an extreme close-up of the Loch Ness monster. From this close-up, the creature looks quite fearsome. The villagers around the loch always assume that the Loch Ness monster is basically friendly. What if they are wrong? This astounding shot of the monster shows her looking very much like an ancient brontosaurus as she wags her behind in the air, taking her morning swim. Here is another view of the loch, with a Scottish castle in the foreground to the left of the picture. The castles around the loch are noted for the many ghostly visitations and to a lively tourist business. Here is an artist's conception of what Nessie might look like as sketched by the newspaper artist for a Scottish daily paper. The creature may look like this, and then again, Nessie has defied clear analysis. Here is another view of Nessie swimming playfully through the water. Here we see the water part beneath her enormous bulk. Experts estimate that Nessie is many hundreds of feet long, perhaps more. Here is yet another artist's conception of what the Loch Ness monster might look like. The monster is seen here as a sort of amphibious dinosaur. Could the real Nessie be a prehistoric monster trapped in the loch and protected against time? Here we see an ancient burial ceremony being performed by priests in an Egyptian community. These mourners are doubly afraid because the man they buried was widely reputed to be a warlock or male witch. And this ceremony is necessary so that his evil spirit will not return to earth to haunt the living. These men are performing a solemn and sacred task, and they know that they will be responsible if the ghost of the man returns to the earth to desecrate the lives of the living. Out in the desert, the tribesmen walk along, thinking of the burial taking place. They were at the ceremony that morning when the man's head and hands were cut off, and the man was interred without benefit of any organized religious ceremony. Only a very evil man would get such a brutal burial. But these people, alone in the desert, have a tough enough time trying to survive the natural perils of the world about them. A world of sand and death and peril from every corner, as they struggle to exist against the onslaught of the desert winds. Even the children must suffer as they cross the burning white-hot sand on foot. Only the camel is suited to this territory, and that is because he can carry enough water for 2 to 3 days in one of his humps. Without that, the desert would claim both the beast and his rider as they fall prey to the desert's many tricks. A world of mirages, of phantom appearances, where men's minds, made mad by the sun's incessant heat, become unhinged and start to play strange tricks in the stifling heat. Who knows what happens in the desert? What is fact and what is apparition? A ghostly maiden appears to be trying to recapture some lost time of her past life. The woman appears in this garden every afternoon, just about tea time. The garden is in Sussex. Here is another view of the ghostly apparition, caught in flight over the lawn as it interrupts a gathering of young women out for a costume party. Here we see the ghost at rest in the rear while her companions are in the foreground. This is the ghost of a young man who has been starved to death in a cage. The man was captured by a family of French lunatics in 1865 near Versailles and imprisoned in the cage. Now his ghost haunts the house where he died. And what do you see out in the vast realm of the night? What terror does the night hold for you? What monstrous vision might be awaiting for you beyond life, beyond the grave, beyond the realm of death? Who knows what strange and inexplicable occurrences will be part of our lives, and what mysterious phantoms we will see? This woman is in the throes of a trance, seemingly possessed by evil spirits. She thinks she is possessed of the spirit of a wolf. She thinks she is a victim of lycanthropy. But is the woman really possessed by a wolf spirit? Here is a famous British psychic medium. Here the medium prays for the living and hopes to effect a link with the spirit world so that he may advise his human subjects. The medium cannot count on such a link, but he can use all his powers to see if such a link can be forged. The swinging watch is the symbol of the hypnotic trance. Here the watch in front of us blurs and distorts time. Soon we will be deep in a hypnotic trance. What wonders will we see? Here is a statue of an ancient beheaded witch. The witch was beheaded at the behest of Egyptian authorities after they caught her in the act of performing a satanic ritual. The woman's ghost still haunts the tomb where she was buried. Here is part of a modern witchcraft ritual. The celebrants take various mystical signs and symbols and arrange them within a magic circle so that they will be protected while they summon demons. Here, a priest conducts black magic ceremony as he gestures hypnotically over a celebrant. Black magic covens and witchcraft rituals have made a comeback in recent years after hundreds of years of persecution and tyrannical suppression. Here is the universal symbol of evil, the witch, as she prepares one of her unholy potions to either charm a lover or kill an enemy. The witchcraft trials of Salem found many such witches, but many people still do not believe. Here is a mystic symbol on a horse. The symbol will protect the horse from sickness, disease, and the powers of darkness. There are many such protections used in European countries. This is the crossed fingers for luck, a symbol with which we are all familiar. But watch, see how easily it is transformed into the sign of the Horned One, the sign of the devil. There are many other symbols used in Black Mass ceremonies as well. The Black Mass is often celebrated with a cock used in a blood sacrifice on the altar of Satan. Frequently, practitioners of black magic get in trouble with the police for these ceremonies. Here we see a coven of worshipers joined in a chant around a ritual altar in a secret sex witchcraft coven in New York City's Greenwich Village. These people are all ordinary people by day. By night, they become witchcraft devotees. Here is another typical satanic altar. This is a collection of ropes, mystical signs and runes, candles, and other mystic paraphernalia. These altars can be rapidly assembled almost anywhere. Here is a man involved in a voodoo ceremony in Haiti. The man is lost in a deep trance, probably brought on partially by the use of hallucinogenic drugs. As the ceremony progresses, the ritual sacrifice is made, and the participants in the ceremony become drenched in blood. This debauched ritual is truly appropriate for the Prince of Darkness, Satan himself. Yes, in the amazing world about us, there is still so much to understand. Although we know more and more about the world of ghostly phenomena every day, there are still many things which are a complete mystery to us. Why are there so many reports of ghostly visitations? Why do legends of haunted houses and screaming skulls persist in our modern age? Mankind has progressed so far from the Dark Ages to the point where he has split the atom with his incredible knowledge. Man searches the skies, looking for his potential neighbors far away in the galaxies. But what is the truth behind the stories which continue to circulate, linking UFO activity with ghostly manifestations? Is there any connection between reports of UFO activity and the ghosts which haunt our dreams? In ancient times, man looked at the stars for the answers. And now, in rocket ships, man moves through the stars, searching the heavens for signs of ghostly presence. What is out there in the vast blackness of space? What mysteries await us out there in the vast blank void of interstellar darkness? In ancient times, man thought that the sun was a god and built temples to worship him. These temples glorified the god of light and the god of the sea as well. Here in these temples, man could contemplate the mystical cosmic connection between the cycles of the moon and the cycles of spectral activity. But the real answer remains out in space, out in the vast blackness of night. And as we search through the heavens for the answers to many questions which haunt us, we learn so much more about the world around us, things that before we could only guess at. Now, man can make astonishingly accurate photo pictures of the moon and cover its surface with radio telescopic examinations by drone picture-taking satellites. These satellites swarm through the heavens, keeping watch on the most distant areas of space, sending us back information which will better explain to us the origin of our world. Are we alone in space, or are we just one of many worlds? A photo was taken in the late 1920s and shows a medium materializing an ectoplasm out of his mouth. Again, the risk to the medium in these situations is considerable, and this sort of seance is becoming increasingly rare. Here is a more modern seance, taking place in a bright and cheerfully lit home. The flowers are at the center of the table to make the ghosts feel more at home. These seances have become a part of everyday life. This is an example of psychic surgery, where the noted Filipino mystic Tony Agpaca made an incision in 4 seconds, removed a malignant growth, and then closed the wound with a wave of his hands. This is the medium Marjorie Crandon producing an ectoplasm of a rather dark color out of her mouth. Many of these seances have become sensational front-page news when they occur. In this ancient painting, the devil tempts a poet with a vision of a woman who will fulfill his every desire. Little does the poet know that the phantasmal woman will disappear when he tries to touch her. This is one of Aleister Crowley's assistants, a woman who worked with him in many of his magical rites and invocations. She has the mark of the devil inscribed on her chest as a symbol of her devotion to Crowley, one of the most notorious black magicians of all times. This ancient engraving shows the members of a black magic coven raiding a graveyard under cover of darkness and taking away a body for one of their horrible rites. In the 19th century, grave robbing was a commonplace way to find convenient corpses for satanic rites. Here in Haiti, these members of a voodoo church are bearing the body of their friend to a ceremony which they hope will ensure that he will be welcomed into the land of the dead. They will pray for him and perform rites. Here is 13-year-old Elsie Wright and a fairy friend in a picture taken by a 10-year-old girl, Frances Griffiths. This picture was taken in 1919 and clearly shows a fairy with the young child who swore the picture was genuine. This is one of the most horrible apparitions, the ghoul, who haunts our waking dreams with his horrifying habits. The ghoul rises from the grave each night and feeds on the flesh of the living. Without this flesh, he will die. This is a boy found in the jungles of Sri Lanka in 1973, after apparently having been adopted by a family of monkeys. The boy spoke in a chattering whine and imitated the habits of monkeys. The authorities were baffled by the boy, but they retrained him to live in human society. These are casts for a print of Bigfoot's foot, seen here with a noted authority on Bigfoot. The casts are of the feet of the monster and comes from the tracks found high in the Himalayan mountains. Here is a picture of Bigfoot striding across the icy the Himalayan mountains. Many people think that Bigfoot is the missing link. Are they right? Is the Bigfoot monster really the missing link? It could be. This is a house of horror. A house which seemingly is a quiet villa far from the cares of the everyday world. Actually, this villa is a house of the living dead. Every night as the sun dips behind the horizon, strange sounds are heard in the corridors of this villa, nestled quietly in the countryside of an English estate. It seems as if such a tranquil location would have everything that anyone could want. But no one wanders among the fountains of the palatial estate. No one is seen walking along the corridors of the house where the ghosts walk at night. This house and these grounds have been rented again and again to one tenant after another, and all of the occupants have left hurriedly, offering vague excuses, mumbling something about sounds in the night, about strange things that they had seen in the hallways. Are they right? Do ghosts haunt the hallways of this stately old mansion? The research continues, and one day, we may know the answer. What's this? A ball coming out of the sky. What's going on here? These mysterious orbs seem to move with a will of their own, and no human hand is evidently controlling them. These mysterious orbs may be just another manifestation of strange things happening at the country estate. Among the many ruined gardens of this once lovely house and estate, we wonder at the forces at work here. Certainly, Only a very fearsome visitation would drive a man from a house so luxurious. Is this house really haunted? Is there really a ghostly curse on this garden? And do these fountains, which turn off and on at inexplicable hours, tell of ghostly influence from beyond the grave? The owners think so, for they have put the property finally up for sale. But so far they have no takers, and it doesn't look as if they'll sell it in the near future. Another case of a ghost lowering property values. Who wants to live in a haunted house? Once again, in deep space, we marvel at the way in which the order of the universe is reflected in the orderly procession of the planets as they travel majestically through space. What strange forces guide the planets? What is happening out here in space, in ever-expanding, ever-changing interstellar space? The many constellations and galaxies of stars in the universe hold incredible secrets of lost civilizations, of races of supermen from beyond the stars. Do UFOs exist? Do they visit the Earth from their home base, searching for a way to control human affairs? If UFOs exist, are they our friends or our enemies? Do UFOs have a connection with ghostly phenomena? Are many of the cases of ghostly visitations, as we've discussed, in reality visits by creatures from beyond space? Creatures from the nightmare world beyond reality, where fantasy and fact mix somewhere out there in the vast void of space. As we watch, we see the Horse Nebula before us, about which we know so little. What is it composed of? What is happening out there? Perhaps on some faraway planet, a new civilization is waiting patiently for us to contact them as they monitor our radio broadcasts, silently waiting for us in the blackness of night. What's that bright object in the distant sky, touching down on the surface of an alien planet? Is this a UFO? A flying saucer? The bottom part certainly looks like a flying saucer and reveals a wealth of sophisticated electronic equipment inside. But this silent sentinel of our skies is a space probe launched by NASA. This particular UFO is not anything that came from beyond our solar system, but is the result of years of work by dedicated scientists. It will help us map a desolate alien wilderness where we will someday touch down alone, searching for answers. Across the vast alien distances, watching the satellite we launched glide majestically over us in space, over the planet, we still wonder at how far we have come since the early days of the space program. We are still pioneers after all these decades of space research. We are still searching for better ways to understand the universe. Maybe someday all our questions will be answered. Curious phenomena of the amazing world of ghosts is the astounding ghost train, which ran in the late 1950s between New York and Los Angeles. This train was haunted by a phantom so horrible that the passengers lived in constant fear of their lives, trying to pretend that they were absorbed in their newspapers and magazines. But all along they knew that something was watching them. They could feel the presence of the thing on the train. There had been many horrifying reports: decapitations, ghostly hands floating through the air, phantom objects moving mysteriously about. All of these things and visitations combined to create an atmosphere of unparalleled terror and fear. The train pounds on into the night. Who knows what will befall the passengers? Is this train really haunted? Who can tell? Railroad officials aren't talking. They insist that there is nothing abnormal about the train's history. But the conductors who ride this ghost train tell a different story, and so do many of the passengers. This train has a history written in blood and death and ghostly apparitions. And the final chapter on the train has yet to be written. Research into ghostly phenomena continues, and working late into the night, scientific researchers and paranormal professionals diligently research all the information in the amazing world of ghosts. Although there is still a great deal of work to be done, it seems obvious that there are things in this world which we cannot explain, things which some people feel would be better left alone, things which go bump in the night and cause horror and death and fear. Continues to search for answers. And as in the molten fury of a blast furnace, or the gentle pattern of sunlight through branches of a tree in summer, gradually knowledge trickles through, and the picture becomes clearer. In New York, in Washington, and in research centers around the world, the quest into the reasons behind ghostly phenomena continues. Paranormal researchers are investigating every kind of ghostly phenomena, from the thing that goes bump in the night to the horrifying tale that fascinates youngsters at a fireside ghost story reading. In the canyons of Manhattan, the research into paranormal activity and ghostly phenomena continues, and the opinions and controversial backlashes of the ghost question continue to reverberate. What is going on in the world of ghosts? Do ghosts visit us during our waking and sleeping hours? And do they haunt us even during our daydreams? As we continue to search for a reason, we may find the answer behind ghostly visitations. This is a man impersonating a ghost during a traffic jam in London. Of course, this isn't a real ghost. Or is it? The man, when stopped by the police, thought the whole thing was a joke. Perhaps, but then again, perhaps not. This is a famous Victorian spirit photograph which shows a ghost of a mother hovering over her child in bed after the mother had died from an attack of typhus. This sentimental piece of trickery was once very popular, but is now dismissed as a fake. This is a genuine ghost photograph. The ghost of the mother of the woman who took this picture is clearly visible in the back seat of this car, highlighted by the arrow. But the mother had died only a few hours before. This is England's famous Brown Lady of Raynham Hall, who walks the halls of her ancestral home every night. This astounding photograph, taken in September of 1936, shows the specter clearly visible, floating above the stairs. This is a body which is mummified in a glass front coffin in the vestibule of St. James Church in London. The figure has been there since the late 1600s, and at night, the caretakers say that you can hear old Jimmy whispering softly to himself. Here is a family near the French-Italian border being menaced by poltergeists who were throwing objects around the house they had rented. The terrified couple eventually had to flee the house, fearing for their lives and the lives of their children. This is a haunted house in Denver, Colorado. The owner of the house has heard many strange sounds at night, and she also claims that ghosts have attacked her twice. Here is a researcher connecting a mechanical vibrator to a house on the theory that such a device might have been used to fake poltergeist attacks in the house in France. The tests were inconclusive. This is a photograph of the staircase at Queen's House, Greenwich, showing a phantom appearing on the staircase. This photo was taken under conditions of tight security and is considered by all authorities to be genuine. This is a picture taken by an amateur photographer of the altar of St. Nicholas Church in Arundel, England. The photographer was astonished when the picture was developed to see the figure of a ghostly apparition hovering in front of the altar. Do ghosts exist? Space, the vast blackness of space. What is happening out here in the vast, silent reaches of outer space? Man has long yearned to travel through the stars, to live as an equal among the creatures of the universe. But why must we wait? Why not now? Come with us then on an astounding journey through the solar system, a journey which staggers the imagination and reaches all the way from the launching pad at Cape Canaveral to the furthest part of the heavens. This is a voyage beyond imagination, a voyage which searches for the answers to a million questions. The secrets of the atom, the story of creation, the riddle of man's existence. How were we formed? What is man's destiny? These questions have puzzled man since the dawn of creation. A meteor floats by us, calm and serene, knowing its place in the universe. Can we say the same thing? Man knows so little about himself, and he knows almost nothing about the secrets of other worlds. Does life exist on other planets? Is there a civilization waiting for us beyond the stars? A civilization which is far in advance of our earthly science. What will this civilization think of us when and if we finally make contact with our visitors from the stars? Does man really think that he is alone in the universe? How can man possibly think that in all the vastness of the universe, he alone is the only intelligent life form, the only form of life with a soul and a mind and intelligence in all the galaxy? As we look out over the vast, desolate landscape of an alien world, we wonder, what is out there waiting for us? Are they our friends or our enemies? Are they the future rulers of outer space, or will they welcome us into the community of interplanetary brotherhood with open arms? What sort of a future awaits us among the stars? As we travel through space, we are struck by how small man is in comparison to the planets and galaxies which make up the ever-expanding universe. Man is just a small part of the vast design of things, a small speck which has no meaning in the context of an alien civilization which has been developing for millions of years and can now travel from planet to planet as easily as we cross the street. These aliens in their supersonic ships of the future would have to travel at many times the speed of light to reach our solar system, assuming they do not come from our solar system. For in all the vastness of the universe, there might well be a duplicate universe somewhere, which would in many ways parallel our own. What kind of rocket ships would we use to visit an alien civilization which is many millions of light years away? Photograph was taken in 1922 and shows a young New Jersey girl in a natural pose in her backyard. But as we see when the camera moves down, there is also an image of her long dead uncle in the photograph, right around the area of her elbow. Here is an Egyptian corpse, which was buried around 4000 BC. The Egyptians attempted to preserve the corpse with an artificial method of preservation, but it was not altogether effective. Here we have miniature gods of the dead of an African tribe. These gods represent the spirits of the dead, which man must pass as he continues his voyage out into the spirit world of death. This is a double exposure of a medium in a trance, showing how her body slumps as she goes into herself to go deep into a trance and gain contact with the spirit world. The medium is an essential tool of psychic communication. Here we have an astonishing ghost photograph taken off the coast of Cornwall during 1947. As we move to the clouds, one can see that this ordinary seaside snapshot has turned into an incredible psychic photographic record. Here we see additional icons of the spirits of the dead. Although man feels that he has control over his own destiny, he often created icons or gods to worship in his search to control the world he lives in. This corpse has coins on its eyes to ensure that it will gain safe passage through the world of the living dead. Ancient Celts believed that a spirit would escape through a man's eyes. Following an Indian ceremony in which an evil spirit was purged from a boy, the boy recovers as the psychic brushes away the last traces of spirit dust. Here is a paranormal researcher at work. The researcher uses a variety of sophisticated electronic equipment to eavesdrop on the amazing world of ghosts. Here is a diagram of a UFO, which was drawn by an eyewitness to a sighting in Georgia in 1973. The UFO hovered over the ground, then vanished. UFOs have often been linked with ghosts. And so we continue to search through space for the answers. For out in space is the clay from which we were all formed. We feel that out in space lie the mysteries to the secrets of our creation. We feel that out there must be an answer to continual reports of ghostly manifestations which flood official Washington files. Consider this. Why is there an outbreak of UFO sightings every time there is also an outbreak of ghostly visitations? There are many cases of ghosts seen in the vicinity of a UFO sighting only minutes after the UFO has departed. Are ghosts really aliens from outer space? Is the entire ghostly world actually a world of strange alien creatures assuming other identities to spy on us and perhaps enslave the Earth, paving the way for an alien invasion? Connection between the cycles of the moon, UFO activity, and witchcraft rituals, particularly on the night of the full moon, the witch's Sabbath, when all the unholy powers of darkness are free to roam the Earth. Is there a connection between the phases of the moon and cycles of UFO activity and ghostly visitation? And what of the influence of the sun? Does the sun affect cycles of UFO activity as well? Some people think that the sun has a hot exterior, but a cool interior, from which UFOs may travel to the surface and fly to observe our planet. Out in space, we realize how little we know and how much we are at the mercy of the cosmic forces around us. We are continually bombarded by mysterious rays from space. Not just cosmic rays, but also rays which tell us that an alien civilization may be watching us, according to many scientists. We send probes into outer space, searching for the answers to questions which have haunted mankind since the dawn of recorded history. We send up exploratory rockets and we search the heavens for a clue to our identity. What is out there in outer space, patiently waiting for us to contact them? Will we contact them in time? In observatories around the world, scientists keep watch on the universe, using the most sophisticated and expensive equipment man can devise. These astonishingly accurate telescopes give us a more accurate picture of what our universe looks like. For after all, what is out there in outer space waiting for us to join them as rulers of the galaxies? In the 1950s, the Air Force, prompted by public inquiries, inaugurated Project Blue Book to look into the UFO question. Here is former President Richard Nixon as he toured the NASA facilities looking into this question. After 15 years, the Air Force dropped their inquiry. The results, inconclusive. Here in Japan, the ancestral homes of many of the inhabitants are haunted by the ghosts of their departed ancestors. Japanese traditions of fraternal loyalty and family ties make the Japanese particularly susceptible to visitations by ancestral ghosts. Japan is also the site of many UFO visitations. Again, is there a link between UFO sightings and ghostly visitations? In space, we can compare Earth to a fragile flower. Mankind's dominion over his planet is such a recent thing. The accomplishments of a lifetime of generations of work can be completely destroyed in a single nuclear accident. And then, how would life begin again? How would man's society rebuild itself, starting from the beginnings again to build up to a society of humanoid forms as we know it? This is how life may look as it starts on some planet far away in a distant corner of the galaxy. And as incredible as it may seem to you, there may be life out there in the vastness of outer space. You might also consider that it is equally incredible to assume that there is not intelligent life somewhere out there in the vast inky blackness of the universe. After all, why should we be the only intelligent life form in all the universe? We run across another kind of ghost story. This is a story of miners, of the prospectors who went looking for gold in the great gold rush of 1849. Sometimes they found fortune, and sometimes only poverty and death. In these early gold rush days, a fortune could be made or lost on the turn of a card. Gambling houses and bars flourished. But at the same time, this rapid expansion had a price. As soon as the gold rush was over and the mines had been played out, the town would collapse, turning into a ghost town. Although the settlers were excited over their early claims, they soon found out that in the long run, they could not hope to live in a ghost town, far from civilization and far from any kind of tie with society. In these ghost towns, men died, shattered in their dreams of quick wealth. Today, gold mining is a very simple affair, mechanized and run by computers and skilled workmen under the earth. Look how easy it is to build an underground city. Could not an alien civilization easily build an underground spy city on one of the planets in our solar system, and then surprise us with a sneak attack of devastating force? A planet could appear normal on the surface, but underneath would be swarming with alien invaders ready to attack. This scenario occurred to H.G. Wells and Orson Welles, who both collaborated on a number of stories dealing with a possible alien invasion. Why would aliens want to invade us? Here, a British medium levitates a table during a seance in London in 1955. This is a man levitated during a psychic seance convention in Los Angeles, while the crowd meditates below him. Here is a British medium again producing the ectoplasm of a ghost in this incredible photograph. Here, a ghostly ectoplasm emerges from a spirit medium in this astounding series of photographs. The ectoplasm emanates again through the medium's mouth until the ghost is clearly visible to all the astounded onlookers. This incredible materialization has seldom been duplicated. Did a ghost actually materialize in this room in Pennsylvania in 1953? You be the judge. Many people relate drug experiences to ghostly phenomena. Here, a Chinese addict smokes an opium pipe, which he thinks will give him an inner insight on himself. Instead, it will lead to drug addiction, enslavement, and death. Opium usage is outlawed in most countries. This mystical pattern is a mark of the beast as devised by the famed and notorious mystic Aleister Crowley and monogrammed onto the palms of his followers. This tattoo, once put on, could not be removed for life. Here we see a celebrant in a black mass in which the worshippers of the devil attempt to invoke their master in a wild, orgiastic ceremony which can involve animal sacrifices. In ancient times, black masses involved human sacrifices. Here is another more sedate black mass. These devil worshippers are obviously Park Avenue types, not your average everyday demon worshiper by a long way. Here we have a typical ritual associated with the Black Mass, which involves a young woman on an altar in a ritual sacrifice. The Black Mass involves many mystical, paranormal, and spirit world concepts and attempts to recreate man's original links with the world of darkness. These bones are artifacts from an Egyptian tomb, which was opened by a group of archaeologists in 1916 while on an exhibition searching for ancient relics. The relics carry a deadly curse. 3 members of the exposition died within a year. Here is the famed vampire of Dusseldorf, Germany, who in the early 1930s terrorized the German populace with a series of blood raids on the unsuspecting townspeople. The vampire would attack young boys and women and drink their blood. He was eventually captured and executed. Here is the aftermath of a black mass. The participant, drugged by the sensual release of the experience, sinks to the floor in a stupor, ready for submission to her master, the devil. Note the religious icon, the cross. Here is an explorer in the mountains of Tibet, searching for evidence of the abominable snowman, or Bigfoot. The Bigfoot imprint is seen in the upper right-hand corner. Bigfoot, or the abominable snowman, has eluded capture for many years. Here is Sir Edmund Hillary looking at a cast from Bigfoot's foot. The monster has been reported in many locations and at many times, but resists positive identification. We are in space, on the last leg of our astounding voyage through the world of scientific fact and the world of science fiction. The world of supernatural visitations and creatures from the very depths of the night. Do you believe in ghosts? Do you believe in the powers of darkness? Do you believe in evil spirits and in creatures from beyond the grave? That the dead return from the grave to haunt our waking days with dreams of nightmarish intensity? Do UFO cycles affect cycles of ghostly visitation? Is there actually a connection between the phases of the planets and the world of ghostly and supernatural phenomena? As we have explored these phenomena and issues in this film, we leave the final answer up to you. You have seen many incredible cases of ghostly visitation and an astounding collection of documentary evidence showing that, definitely, there is something out there, something waiting and watching for us. Whether you call that force ESP, ghosts, ghouls, werewolves, witches, vampires, creatures of the night, whatever, these forces of darkness are real, and they are a part of our everyday lives. We must all remember that there are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamt of in our philosophy. And in the meantime, we must keep our eyes on space and wide open. Look, that bright speck of light moving towards us. What is it? It couldn't be one of our rocket ships. Nothing in our fleet looks like that. Could it be a visitor from outer space? Or perhaps something more mundane, just a passing comet or a meteor? But it could be a UFO from some distant planet, searching the skies for an alien intelligence that has plans for our future. come to the end of our astounding journey through the amazing world of ghosts. We pick up our young explorer again. He has so much to learn, but he is aware of the powers of darkness, and that is his secret strength. He knows that the powers of darkness are real. He knows that the amazing world of ghosts is no laughing matter, that there are powers out there beyond our comprehension. Do you believe in ghosts?